What? How are you all doing? Everything was brilliant. Until it wasn't. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on when it wasn't. That comes tomorrow because I may have a battle on my hands because of, potentially, an act of God. But again, I'll explain that one tomorrow if I actually have to fight God. The potential is there, don't worry. Storm 1 is ready for it. The day was fantastic, realistically, alright? Got everything done yesterday, didn't I? Done, delivered, dusted, nailed it, son. Done. No stress. And I got a random message. The Wald decided to take my advice. Put that on your calendars, people, because it might be the first time in fucking history. Right? Not quite where we aimed, but options were given. One of the options was chosen. Fantastic. And in a call with him, basically, we got into the groove. It was like, look, you know, I'm not trying to get you to get things you don't need, but I'm giving you options and stuff with room for the wiggle, right? If you're here now, you might be here in the future, there's room to grow, right? So say, think about the last time you asked me about this kind of stuff. I gave him an example. Think about XYZ time you asked me about stuff. What happened? He said, I did this. I go, now, what did I recommend you get? And he mentioned something that I recommended. I go, what did you buy no more than a fortnight ago? He was like, yeah, the thing. I go, exactly. Had you have just done it when I told you, you'd have been fine all this time, right? He's like, yeah, I know, mate, I'm sorry. I was like, cool. So, what's happened is, me and Dawn got into a live stream today. Not playing the game I'd anticipated we'd play, because I was a bit of a plebeian and forgot to download it. But that was going to take 2 hours, we didn't have enough time to download it. So, we ended up playing Monster Hunter Rise, which is Deward's introduction to Monster Hunter. Now, here I am, instead expecting Deward to just bounce right off of it. And he almost did, because the game gave him a longsword. There was a lot of stuff bombarding Deward, and he's not really into JRPGs, he just isn't. Like, if the game don't go, here little boy, and, you know, takes him by the hand and you know, leads him to wherever he needs to be, he's not in there. You know, he's not into it at all. If he has to actually, you know, click the brain on and figure out where to go, it's not going to happen. He likes the old mindless mashing, get in there, job done kind of thing, you know, bless him. So, we got in and he almost bounced. So he had a long sword. He started to get a bit overwhelmed with all the stuff kind of coming at him, all the stuff on screen, monsters running at him and that kind of stuff. And I was a bit surprised because he chose Gunner. And you've got to be a special kind of melon, right? You've got to have a special kind of Swede to want to go Gunner. Especially if you've played classic Monster Hunter games, because fuck me, Gunners are squishy as all balls. In Monster Hunter, traditionally classic, back in the day, you would have to have, there were two types of armour. One for your melee types, so your sword and shields, your great swords, your long swords, your axes, your hammers, whatever. Anyone that would get in there, get in the thick of it, there was one kind of armour. And then Gunners had another kind of armour that was basically made out of tissue paper. That's not so much the case anymore, because if a Gunner fucks up, and the Gunner is by themselves, they get into trouble pretty quickly. Because obviously you're supposed to stay out of range and shoot, but if a monster aggroes you, where do you go? Kind of thing. You have to then reposition and all that kind of stuff. Well, in Rise, they've allowed Gunners to just use regular armour. So they have all the same benefits that I do as like a sword and shield or greatsword user. But they then have the added bonus of being miles the fuck away when they're actually engaging the enemy. So he picks up a blowgun and he loves it. Absolutely fucking loves it. He's just completely fucking like, oh mate, this is well fun. As we're going through the online hub quests, and I was actually quite surprised. I was it's not that bad, is it? He says, yeah, it's a lot of stuff to take in, but it's pretty fun. In fact, it reminded him of Phantasy Star Online, because he didn't like playing the sword characters in Phantasy Star Online either. He used to play Ranger and went long range with the guns or the launchers and that. And he said, yeah, it just felt like Phantasy Star. And if anyone don't believe me, for at least the next, I think, 15 to 30 days, there is going to be a VOD on Stewie's Twitch channel, Stuey3D, where he seemed to be having a right fucking laugh. In fact, I think he's actually clipped some of it. He had that much fun, because Dark Rider jumped in, I was there, Stewie was there, and, you know, we helped him get gear, and he, like I say, he just seems to be having a whale of a fucking time. So, good job. And you know what? Because no corners were cut in this setup, we all had decent fucking audio. Praise the Lord! Okay, that's what happens when you follow my advice, because I won't have people take shortcuts and fuck up my audio. Anyway, he says, as he's talking to a camera with no microphone attached to it, whilst there's 2 or 3 microphones, 4 microphones, 5 microphones sat next to him. 6 microphones? 6 microphones, there you go. Shh. But, yeah, not all was the good. Because I wanted to set up some of my other kit. Some kit that I'd kind of taken away when I switched Belial to Linux. Some of my kit didn't work out of the box. You could run scripts to get it to work, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just go all the Linux. Then when we started going back to the whole dual machine setup, running Windows, I was like, why aren't I actually using the kit that used to be on my desk, or really any of the other kit I've got? I found a problem. On one of my interfaces, a button had dived, and that really was like, oh, shit. It's a pretty important button, at least for me. If you've, well, there you go. If you've heard me in a while, I've got a bit of a coughing problem. And the button that happened to be knackered was my cough drop. I'll explain all that tomorrow. But it's not a cheap device that the buttons it's dived on. Well, it's dove on, whatever. And it's frustrated me a little bit. An RMA is required. Admittedly, there are workarounds to it. It's not something I want to fix though, and it's not something that should be, but tomorrow I'll get into it, depending on the act of God. It's just frustrating, really. I've got some bits to do though, before I can head to bed. Like I say, it's all good until someone pushes your button, or doesn't allow you to push your fucking button. I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one. Actually, just last thing. Just note, it's Sats week for Noodle. Wish him luck.